What's going on, guys? Dan back here with Regular Guy Garage. If you didn't see in the last video, we had a little bit of a issue on the dyno, which we think is a head gasket, and honestly we think that's what's contributing to the rising intake air temperatures along with the rising coolant temperatures. So I started taking apart the top end of the engine yesterday, and I just wanted to show you guys the progress real quick. All right, so got all the water out of the engine, coolant, whatever. Pretty much, slowly plugging away. I've really only been going at it for maybe an hour and a half. I got the upper intake off, most of the electrical stuff taken off. I got to undo the injectors. Going to take off the exhaust manifolds, intake, valve covers, and then a couple hoses, and we'll be able to get these heads off. So we've got it completely down to now. I just need to unbolt and pull the heads off. I'm not sure what I'm going to find. I mean, so far I don't see anything, but there's clearly some sort of either coolant flow issue. There's something going on. So hopefully when I pull the heads off, it's blatantly obvious. Maybe it's like a blown head gasket or something like that. But we will find out here in a quick minute. All right, guys. So I'm almost positive, I'm fairly positive that I found the issue with why the coolant hose blew off of the car while it was on the dyno. And all I'm gonna say is, lesson learned from me, start with the things that are easiest first, especially before you pull the cylinder heads off your car. So we got the heads off the car. As you can see, I just have it covered up. Head gaskets and everything looked good. Everything looked perfectly fine. Then what I kind of noticed, so I had the heater hoses up here. They were still hooked up, and I was like, you know what? Let me just pull them off. See, I don't even remember why. I think I just pulled them off to get some extra room. And then what I noticed was there's usually like a restrictor for the heater core, which is broken. And so then I looked inside the hose, and I don't know if you can even see it in there, but it's basically like it's wedged in there, so it's blocking the coolant path from going through this hose. And I was kind of messing with it. Basically, when I found it yesterday, let me see if I can get it out. No, I can't get it out. But basically, so when I found it yesterday, it was like twisted in a way that it was just blocking all path of the water through the hose. So I'm fairly confident that that is the reason why. Additionally, very small thing. This is like, I kept that heater tube on, and this is the jumper that usually goes to the throttle body. This is clogged solid. So, I'm sure, with if just this little restriction, not a huge deal, but this definitely, like you can't see through it. But anyway, rest of the engine looks pretty good. It looks pretty good inside. No issues. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to just start cleaning this up. I've already got new head gaskets and stuff to regasket it. So I'm going to clean it up. I got to clean up like the antifreeze and clean out the mating surfaces. I got all new gaskets. And then we'll get back to putting this thing back together. So the engine's going back together. Get to the point now where I'm going to adjust the valves really quick. But, probably another hour or so worth of work for me to get this thing finished off. And then we will see if our issue with, so I bypassed, so what I ended up doing was I bypassed the heater system. So I no longer have the tube up here. I just have this loose so I can bleed the air out of the system. But so that heater tube is no longer in. I'm not going to be using the heater core at all. And we're gonna see, hopefully that was the issue. That piece is still in there. The restrictor piece belongs in there. But I have a feeling because it broke and then the other side wedged itself in that hose, I think that's our issue. I think that's why we're overheating, and I think that's why this hose blew off. I think that's why we had high intake air temperatures. So I'm gonna finish up here in a second, and then we'll see if that's it. All right, guys, so let's go over everything that went on with the car. So changed the head gaskets, and it's raining like crazy outside right now. But anyway, so changed the head gaskets. They weren't on the wrong way. They were on the correct way. That wasn't actually the issue. That restrictor, which is supposed to go in the heater core hose, is, I guess, meant to prevent the heater core from, having a failure. That had broken in half. I'm pretty sure you guys saw it on the video, and like wedged itself sideways inside of the hose, and it was basically blocking the path through there. So I think these fans are actually not adequate for keeping this car cool. Once it does get up to 197, it'll tick up like very slowly, but then once I start driving, the cool air will bring it back down. So I'm probably gonna do like the contour fans, the ones that flow really good air, because I think these are rated for, they say 2200, but I don't think they move 2200. But regardless, the other thing that I'm trying to track down is the hard start issue that I've been having with this car. And going back through some old videos, I never really had this hard start issue up until, you know, not long ago. So what I'm going to do right now, I have a brand new coil, just the regular stock style ignition coil. And then also I got a new distributor with the TFI module and all that stuff. Kind of just throwing parts at it right now, but I mean, like when they were tuning it down at the shop, you know, they were like, hey, like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. All right, so I've got the new coil on, and then new distributor is on. Got my timing light hooked up. We're gonna check this timing here in a minute. I hope this works, because if not, I really don't know where to go from here with the hard start issue. All right, guys, so I got the fan running. For some reason, the fan stopped working. So I had to mess with the relay and get it to start running again. So I got the fan running. It got like up to 206 in a hurry because the fan wasn't working. But so we're cooling it down really quick. I got the timing set. I had to fiddle with it a bunch, get the timing set with the new distributor. You know, so it took me a little bit to get it started. I'm gonna let it cool off maybe another 5 or 10 degrees. And then we'll kick the engine over and see if changing this coil and distributor actually made a difference. Like I said, it took me a bit to get it started at first, but we'll see. It didn't really change much, and now what I'm starting to do is move some of the ground wires around. So what I did was I added a new ground cable, the one that goes from the back of the cylinder head, and then I roughed up the firewall a little to make sure that was a good connection. I also, excuse my rat's nest here, let me get this out of the way, that's for the fan. I also added a ground wire down in here, which runs to the frame. Okay, so this is an extra 4-gauge ground wire going from the block to the frame. Then the last thing that I did was I took the ground wire from the Holley Terminator system itself, and that was just grounded inside of the cabin where the stock, like, you know, computer ground wire was for the harness. So I ran it through the firewall. Actually, I'm going to tuck it into this loom right here, but it's basically coming along this harness. I've already tucked some of it in, and then I cut it out, and it's going to the engine block on this side. And so the reason I did that is because as I was reading over the Holley Terminator directions again, it specifically said to ground it to the engine block or a good chassis ground. Not to say that the ground inside of the car wasn't a good chassis ground. Yeah, there was a little bit of paint on it and stuff, but either way, it said preferably the engine block. So now I got it grounded to the engine block. And now what I'm going to do is hopefully that clears up our, you know, maybe it was just kind of a weak ground, which was giving us the issue with the hard starting. And let's go ahead and see really quick if the engine starts better. You know, the hard start thing isn't really a huge deal. It's just kind of annoying to get it started. So once the engine started, I mean, it runs perfectly fine. So one thing I want to do though is I don't want it to enter closed loop, which will mean that it will start making changes. I really honestly don't want it to do that until about 1500 RPM. And then we can even do maybe maximum coolant of 110. The reason why I don't want that is because I notice when I actually start the car, sometimes it'll fire right up, and then that closed loop will try and start messing with the fuel right away, and then it makes the engine kind of rev up, and then, you know, it takes fuel out, so it bogs down, and it kind of takes a minute for it to level off. So I'm gonna see, you know, all I did was I basically just put it 500 RPM over the idle RPM, and then you know, minimum of 110. The you know, the tune that the guys put on the car it's pretty solid. So I'm hopefully shutting that off, or not shutting it off, but just making it come on at a later time. Hopefully that clears things up. If not, I'll just turn it back on. Okay, let's give it another shot. Engine's got a little bit of heat in it. Where are we at? 139. We'll see how well it fires up now. All right, guys, so everything's starting to look up for this car. Got what we thought was going to be a serious issue all figured out. Now just tweaking and stuff, just for initial startup or whatever. But we still have a lot to do to the car. I have to put these 411s, 410, either 410 or 411, whatever, same thing. We're going to put the gears in the car. Should give us a little bit better ET. What I want to do is actually run the car on this tune to see if there's any difference between the way I tuned it and then the way, an actual tuner's tune is. And then, yeah, so got a lot more stuff to do. Like I said, we're going to do gears. We got, a long way to go with this car. But anyway, if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, follow along with the build, check out the playlist for the car. And, as always, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.